Unbelievable historical coincidences.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Titanic. I'm your host, Alexa.
I get it. The law of large numbers allows for weird, seemingly unbelievable coincidences to happen, but these events seem too bizarre or just random to be a coincidence. If you love stories that are almost too difficult to believe, then you'll love some of these unbelievable historical coincidences.
If you're new here, be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload.
Hoover damage. The Hoover Dam building is shrouded in a dark cloud of fatalities. 96 people died during its construction. An unsettling set of circumstances has become this bizarre family tragedy. On December 20th, 1921, John Gregory Tierney drowned during a flash flood in the violent Colorado River. 14 years to the day on December 20th, 1935, Tierney's only son died. He suffered a massive fall from one of the intake towers on the Arizona side of Black Canyon. If ever a whiz there was. Frank Morgan played multiple roles in the original Wizard of Oz film. He was the taxi driver in Emerald City, the fortune teller Professor Marvel, and of course, the wizard himself. In his role as Professor Marvel, the director decided that they wanted him to look a little down on his luck, so he needed a worn-looking coat. The costume was assembled by the wardrobe department, and they picked up the worn-out coat at a local second-hand shop. While filming, Frank Morgan pulled out one of the pockets of the second-hand jacket, and it was labeled L. Frank Baum. What's so incredible is that L. Frank Baum is the author of Wizard of Oz, who had since passed away. The film crew contacted Baum's widow, who confirmed that it was his jacket, which was corroborated by his tailor. Alternative President Universes. 4 United States presidents have been assassinated while in office, but 2 that have far too many similarities for comfort are Abraham Lincoln and John F. Kennedy. These uncanny coincidences span their life and death, but in this short list, we'll just go through their parting shots. Both presidents died on a Friday before a major holiday. Both were seated beside their wives, who were unscathed. Both were with another couple at the time, and in both assassinations, the other male was wounded. Both presidents were succeeded by a vice president named Johnson. Both had 13 letters in their name, Andrew, born 1808, Lyndon in 1908. Both Johnsons had 2 daughters. The assassins each had a 15-letter name. Oswald shot Kennedy from the window of a warehouse and then fled and hid in a theater, while Booth shot Lincoln before fleeing a theater to hide in a warehouse. If that's not a case of alternative universes, I don't know what is. Written in the stars. Mark Twain was a prolific writer during his years on Earth, but perhaps he possessed a little more magic than most. He was born on the evening of the appearance of Halley's Comet in 1835, one of the most beloved cosmic experiences of a lifetime, as it's only visible every 76 years or so. That means for most people, it's a once-in-a-lifetime moment. But whether a premonition or just a guess, in 1909, Mark Twain said, "I came in with Halley's Comet in 1835. It is coming again next year, and I expect to go out with it." And mark his words, in 1910, the day Halley's Comet was visible from the Earth, Mark Twain suffered a heart attack. Talk about going out with a bang. The real killer sandwich. World War I was caused by the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, but the whole thing might not have happened had the assassins not stopped for a sandwich. The assassins' original attempt had just failed. The bomb they detonated hit the car behind Ferdinand, while Ferdinand sped off unscathed. The assassins, bruised from defeat and hungry, headed to a cafe for a sandwich. While snacking, the Archduke and his wife pulled up alongside the cafe. The man saw them and fired a single fatal shot, thus beginning World War I and proving that a sandwich could cost you your life or save you your job. Lucky 21. When he was young, King Louis XVI of France was warned by an astrologer that the 21st of the month was an ominous date for him, and that he should always be on guard on that date. It seems he didn't heed the warning of staying in bed on the 21st, and so he befell some terrible fates on this particular day. The 21st of June, 1791, following the French Revolution, King Louis and his wife were arrested trying to escape from France. A few months later, on the 21st of September, he rid France of their royalty and signed in a republic instead. This decision led to the king's demise, as on the 21st of January in 1793, King Louis was sent to the guillotine. Seeing double. King Umberto I was the crown king of Italy in the 19th century. While enjoying a dinner at a small restaurant, the owner brought him his order. Everyone in their presence was dumbstruck at the resemblance of the restaurateur and the king, not just in facial features but also in build. But while discussing their mirror image, they began to discover more similarities. Both were born on the same date, March 14, 1844, in the same town. Both men were married to a woman called Margherita. The day the restaurant was opened is the exact day the king was crowned in Italy. Sadly, on the 29th of July 1900, the king got word that the restaurateur had been shot and killed in a mysterious accident. A short while later, the king himself was assassinated during an address in front of a crowd by an anarchist. Red Solo Cup lines. Red Solo Cups are synonymous with college parties and, well, beer pong and binge drinking, but the lines on the cup are also a perfect measure. And while a few college students are worried about moderation, the measurements are handy nonetheless. The first line from the bottom is a good measure for the correct quantity of alcohol to add to a mix. The next line, second from the bottom, is a standard glass of wine. The third line is 12 ounces, the standard serving of a beer. The crazy thing, the lines were never perfectly placed. It was just a design flaw that they landed in exactly the right spot. The home front. William McLean was a farmer, and in the summer of 1861 was happily living with his wife at a plantation in Virginia. The Civil War was imminent, and as Union forces approached, Confederate General P.G.T. Beauregard took over McLean's farm as his headquarters. We fast forward to 1865, and McLean offers the parlor of his home as a meeting place between General Robert E. Lee and his Union counterpart Ulysses S. Grant. That very afternoon, Lee surrendered his army of Northern Virginia to Grant. In essence, the war started in McLean's yard and ended in his parlor. Nature versus nurture. In 1940, twin brothers were placed up for adoption at 3 weeks old. The unnamed baby boys were adopted by separate families who both named them James, but both became known affectionately as Jim Lewis and Jim Springer, to be exact. Jim Lewis lived in Lima, Ohio, and Jim Springer in Piqua, Ohio, just 40 miles apart. And only at age 39 did they reunite for the first time, having grown up not knowing each other at all. When they did meet, it became clear that there were more than a few similarities. Not only their looks, obviously, but their entire life paths seemed to reflect one another. The Jim twins both had dogs they named Toy, and in school they were both great at math and woodworking and very poor at spelling. It's only later that things really get weird. They both married women named Linda, but were both divorced and went on to a second marriage, both with a Betty. It was then that they both had sons that they both named James Allen. Both men drove Chevrolets and worked in the security field. They entered a study on twins at the University of Minnesota, where brainwave tests showed that their test results were almost identical. The same goes for their medical histories and personality tests. Have you ever had a bizarre coincidence? Share your experience with me in the comments below. 1. Right place at the right time. Joseph Figlock can catch a baby like the average person catches a cold. In the 1930s, Figlock was living in Detroit. One day, when walking down the street, a mother's baby fell from a high window and Figlock caught it. A year on, he was walking down the same street, and what do you know, a baby drops from the sky. Again, Figlock caught the falling babe, and both survived. The baby had come from the exact window and the same mother. We really think that the big question here is what is happening in that apartment, but aren't we glad Figlock was around?